I'll never forget the moment it pierced through the air like glass. Dessert had just arrived, chocolate frosting shining under the dining room lights, when Amanda, my youngest sister, leaned over and said, "I wish you were never born." The room erupted in laughter. Everyone but me. I set my fork down deliberately slow. My chest burned, but my smile stayed sharp, thin, deliberate. And then I said it. "Well, Amanda, the feeling is mutual. Only difference is, I actually have the power to make that wish come true." The laughter died instantly. Silence fell heavy, brittle. Like the fragile family glass I'd been balancing my whole life had finally cracked. That was the last night I ever sat at my mother's table. My name is Catherine. I'm 32, a high school English teacher, divorced and invisible for 3 decades. What they didn't know. I was about to vanish from their lives entirely. And when I did, their perfect little family would never be the same again. I was the middle child of 3 daughters. Jessica, the eldest, golden and untouchable, straight A's, debate champion, future lawyer. Even her mistakes were celebrated as learning experiences. Amanda, the youngest, wild, artistic, dramatic, constantly lauded no matter how small the achievement. Creative souls need freedom, Mom would say, even when Amanda was 28 and still painting in the basement. And me? Catherine. Quiet, dutiful, divorced, modest apartment, doing my best, yet invisible. Always overlooked. My victories muted. My life a footnote in their story. I grew up learning early that visibility was a privilege reserved for the other 2. When I was 10, I won a district essay contest. Mom barely glanced at the certificate. "At least this might get Jessica a scholarship," she murmured, turning to my sister. 12, I tried choir. My solo? Ignored. "Nice hobby," Dad said vaguely, like my effort was optional, not achievement. Birthdays blurred into one another. Jessica's with custom cakes, Amanda's crowned with handmade decorations, mine store-bought, a background prop in every family photo. By adulthood, I had my role down. Caretaker of peace, the one who remembered everyone else's birthdays, who smoothed conflicts, who listened patiently to venting and complaints. My own burdens were invisible. My needs footnotes. My life background noise. And that night at the table, as Amanda's words cut through the air, I realized the truth I'd known all along. I would never matter to them. Not as a teacher. Not as a daughter. Not as Catherine. The dinner itself had been a performance. Jessica had just made senior partner at her law firm. Lasagna baked, good china polished, wine poured, Dad glowing with pride. Amanda scrolling through her abstract art, showing the world she was a modern Picasso. When my turn came to speak about a student I had mentored, a young girl who had just won a regional writing contest, the acknowledgement was a shrug. "Oh, that's nice, honey," Mom murmured, already turned toward Jessica. "Jess, tell us about your latest courtroom victory." I swallowed the sting, forced my smile, and let the conversation roll past me. As usual, Jessica's triumphs became headlines. Amanda's art sacred. My own victories? Invisible. Footnotes that no one read. Dessert arrived. Chocolate cake glimmering, sweet aroma filling the room, but every bite reminded me of the life I had spent unnoticed. Stories began flowing, each one at my expense. Pranks, teasing, cruel jokes. Laughter rang, but it was at me, never with me. My chest tightened with every chuckle. Every memory a reminder. I had been the family's scapegoat for 32 years. And then Amanda leaned in, her eyes glinting like she knew she had landed the final blow. That's when something inside me shattered. Not into despair, but into clarity. I would never matter to them. Not in their eyes. And if I stayed, I would die invisible. I closed my eyes and whispered a vow I had kept hidden for decades. I will not be their target again. I will not sit at their table pretending cardboard cake tastes sweet. I will disappear, not in defeat but in power. If Amanda wished I were never born, I would grant her wish, but on my terms. I would remove myself from their lives entirely. For the first time in my life, silence didn't feel empty. It felt like possibility. And in that quiet, a new Catherine began to emerge. If you've ever been invisible in your own family, comment below what you would do in this situation. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. The morning after that dinner, the house felt like a trap I had narrowly escaped. My apartment was quiet, too quiet, but the echoes of Amanda's words haunted every corner. I will not be their target again. I kept repeating it like a mantra, but the reality of what I was about to do terrified me. Because vanishing from your own family, that's not easy. It's not just leaving. It's erasing yourself from a lifetime of habits, expectations, and the invisible chains that have held you hostage. I started small, deleted old voicemails, drafted a new email to change my phone number. Every click, every keystroke felt like reclaiming ownership of my life. For 32 years, I had lived under the shadow of my sisters, the golden one, the artist, the favorite ones. And for 32 years, my parents had ignored my achievements, my efforts, my very existence. Jessica and Amanda weren't cruel by accident. They were trained by the same hands that raised me. Dad, always assessing value in performance and obedience. Mom, constantly weighing affection as if it were currency. Everything I did, every little success was either minimized or used as leverage to keep me in my place. I thought of the night before. Amanda's joke about me being adopted. The ice cream truck lie. The prank about my face sticking forever. They laughed thinking it harmless. But it had been me, quietly absorbing humiliation, year after year, while everyone else basked in praise. Now I understood the pattern. And patterns can be broken. By midday I was planning my escape. Not dramatic, not vindictive. Strategic. Precise. I began searching for teaching positions far away. Seattle, Portland, Denver. Cities where my parents couldn't casually drop by. Where their influence and their casual cruelty could not follow me. I didn't want revenge through confrontation. I wanted revenge through absence. The absence that makes people feel the weight of what they took for granted. And then the calls began. First Mom. Sweetheart, please just open up. Her voice quivering. Then Jessica. Catherine, we're worried. Don't be childish. Call us back. Amanda left videos, each one dripping with feigned innocence. Catherine, you're overreacting. We're just checking in. I ignored them all. Each voicemail, each missed call felt like a victory. Every click of delete was a lock snapping shut on their access to me. And the silence that followed? That silence was mine. The following week they showed up at my apartment. Not together. Dad first with that clipboard he always carried like a badge of authority. Mom later with rehearsed tears. And Amanda, of course, filming everything for her story. They didn't come to celebrate me. They came to take. To leverage my life for their benefit. Dad started with the deed. We need to be on your property just in case, he said. I didn't flinch. No. You're not touching my deed. Next, the car. We need to register Tessa here sometimes. It's easier. I stood firm. No registration unless she lives here. Then the refinancing, the small equity line, the requests for cash. My blood ran cold. They weren't asking for guidance. They were trying to turn my house into their personal ATM, disguised as family concern. Every sentence, every smile, every syrupy word from Mom. We're protecting you, sweetheart, was a trap. I realized then that this wasn't about love. It had never been about love. It was about control. About keeping me tethered, dependent, invisible. The only way to reclaim power was to remove their ability to manipulate me entirely. I kept my voice calm. Every refusal measured. No deed. No registration. No refinancing. No loans. This house is mine. This ends now. Mom's eyes shimmered with practiced sorrow. Dad's frustration radiated like heat. Amanda's phone hovered, hungry for drama. But I wasn't playing their game. For 32 years, I had been the family's invisible caretaker. Now I was Catherine, the one who chooses her own path. Every demand they made, I countered with silence and firmness. My boundaries were clear. This wasn't just defense. It was the first step in reclaiming my life. And it hurt them more than words ever could. For the first time, they felt what it meant to be without me. The calls, the pleading, the thinly veiled threats, they all bounced off walls I had built with intention. I wasn't bitter anymore. I was deliberate. I wasn't escaping. I was ascending. And in that calculated, quiet chaos, I realized, sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't confrontation. It's absence. The kind of absence that makes people notice what they've been taking for granted. For the first time in my life, my choices mattered. My voice mattered. My presence mattered, but only for me. If you've ever had to set boundaries with family, comment below how you drew your line. And if you're enjoying Catherine's story, give it a like. It really helps the channel share these stories of courage. By the 6th week after that dinner, the plan was complete. I had packed my life into boxes, labeled every drawer, every shelf. My apartment, modest, second-hand, familiar, had transformed from a cage into a launch pad. I wasn't running from them. I was running to me. The movers came early, humming softly as they carried my life out. I lingered by the window, watching the city stretch before me, each streetlight a small beacon of possibility. Seattle awaited, a city that didn't know me yet, that wouldn't judge me based on my sister's victories or my parents' approval. My new classroom, my new students, my new life, everything was waiting. I left behind everything that tied me to their control. My old phone, my mail forwarding, even the routine that had kept me chained to their whims. By the time I closed the door behind the last box, I felt it. The weight of 32 years lifting, replaced by a clarity I had never known. The calls and messages came immediately. Mom first, then Jessica, even Amanda. Each one dripping with feigned concern. Apologies never quite reaching the truth. Catherine, we're worried. Don't be childish. Call us back, Jessica's voice said through voicemail. Amanda sent a string of dramatic videos, each one pleading, accusing, or mocking. I didn't answer. Not once. Every voicemail deleted was a lock snapping shut. Every missed call reinforced a new rule. I was no longer theirs to manipulate. For once, they were the ones left waiting, left wondering, left empty-handed. Seattle was quiet, but it was honest. My new apartment smelled faintly of fresh paint and rain through the window. My classroom buzzed with genuine appreciation. Students hung on my words, asking questions, seeking guidance. Colleagues nodded, offering respect without competition. It was overwhelming at first. To be seen without comparison, to matter without explanation, to exist without negotiation. It was intoxicating. The whispers reached me eventually. An old neighbor, a cousin's casual Facebook comment. Hints that Jessica and Amanda's alliance was cracking. Without me smoothing over tensions, without me absorbing the friction, their golden family facade was crumbling. They laughed less, bickered more, and suddenly noticed what 32 years of invisibility had kept hidden. My absence mattered. Freedom, I realized, wasn't loud. It wasn't fireworks or confrontations. It was calm, deliberate, unshakable. And it felt like power. Pure, simple power. Life continued to expand around me. I built friendships that nurtured rather than drained. I threw myself into work with students who genuinely valued my presence. I explored the city, the cafes, the parks, the quiet corners I had never known I needed. Each step, each smile, each accomplishment reinforced the truth. I had created a world they could not touch. And then life offered another kind of joy. David. Met on a rainy evening in a bookstore, arguing over a novel's ending. That argument turned into coffee, coffee into dates, dates into partnership. With him I was never compared. I was never diminished. He celebrated my victories, comforted my fears, and shared in my quiet triumphs. For the first time I existed fully, not in shadow, not in service, but as myself. The wedding was small, intimate. Friends from work, old neighbors, hiking companions, people who valued me for me, stood by my side. Laughter, genuine warmth, no cruel jokes. No one questioned my worth. And when our daughter was born, I named her Hope. Hope would never doubt her belonging, never feel invisible, never endure the patterns I had survived. Occasionally, I thought of my mother's late apologies, Jessica's texts, Amanda's desperate attempts to reach me. But forgiveness wasn't access. Reconciliation wasn't obligation. I didn't owe them my life. They had wished I didn't exist, and in a way I granted that. I vanished, but I did not diminish myself. Their world without me was fractured. Mine without them was whole. Years passed. Silence became sanctuary. The echoes of their laughter no longer haunted me. My career flourished. Friendships deepened. Life expanded in ways I had only dreamed of from the shadows of my parents' house. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was seen. I was heard. I was Catherine, teacher, friend, partner, mother, fully alive. And every so often I smiled, remembering Amanda's cruel words at dessert. I wish you were never born. She had spoken them as a joke, as a taunt. But I had turned her curse into my greatest triumph. Their laughter had failed. My life had succeeded. Sometimes walking away is louder than confrontation. Sometimes absence speaks louder than words. And sometimes reclaiming your life is the ultimate act of revenge. If you've ever been minimized, dismissed, or erased by family, comment below how you reclaimed your power. And if Catherine's story inspired you, give it a like and share it. Let others know they can find strength in walking away. Don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of courage.